The Start Your Own Business podcast. Hear inspiring startup stories and get reliable expert advice on how to start your business and get off to the best possible start. Brought to you by Startup Donut, helping small businesses succeed.
Hi there, thanks for joining us and welcome to the Start Your Own Business podcast. My name's Fiona and I'm your host. You're listening to episode 3 of our special 4-part mini-series brought to you in association with Tax Assist Accountants, all about making tax digital for income tax. In this episode, we're asking, how much do you really know about making tax digital for income tax? Be honest, have you got a solid grasp of the key facts? Have you already taken steps to prepare? If so, great work. But if making tax digital for income tax still feels like a bit of a mystery, you're not alone. For many sole traders and small private landlords, it's still not fully on the radar. Unfortunately, that doesn't change reality. Making tax digital is coming and it will be mandatory. When it launches on the 6th of April 2026, it will radically change how you keep financial records and report your income and expenses to HMRC. So, what are the essential facts you really need to know? Here to guide us through them is Andy Gibbs, Chartered Tax Advisor and Director of Services at Tax Assist Accountants, the sponsor of this episode. But before we hear from Andy, let's take a moment to find out how Tax Assist Accountants can help you prepare for making tax digital.
Are you a sole trader or landlord earning over £50,000 a year? Then making tax digital for income tax is heading your way, and the deadline is the 6th of April 2026. Don't wait until the last minute. Tax Assist Accountants are here to help you get ahead and stay compliant. With local offices across the UK, they offer face-to-face personalised support to guide you through the entire process, whether it's understanding what MTD means for you, getting your finances in order, or choosing the right tools. With MTD compliant software to digitise your records and make submissions simple, you'll be fully set up and ready. Even better, Tax Assist has a range of packages designed to suit different needs and budgets, so you'll only pay for the support that's right for you. It's expert help made local and personal.
It's now time to meet our guest, Director of Services at Tax Assist Accountants, Andy Gibbs. Hi there, Andy. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
So I guess our first question for our listeners is, what exactly is making tax digital for income tax?
Making tax digital for income tax is really about digitising the tax system. So it's going to mean that sole traders and landlords will need to keep digital records, transfer that data to HMRC using digital links, use software to do those submissions, and also then complete a final year-end tax return as well.
So why is it being introduced now?
HMRC want to reduce errors and make sure that we get our tax right. That's really the main driver for HMRC to launch this. MTD will encourage accurate and timely tax reporting, but also HMRC do want businesses to benefit from digitalisation so that business owners have digital records and keep things digitally.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So obviously there's a benefit from HMRC's point of view if people are filing things digitally, but how will small businesses benefit? Is there any benefit to them from going digital?
I think there's many benefits from going digital that may not be immediately apparent, but regular updates and touch points with the tax system will benefit business leaders and business owners, and really just beating that January rush. You know, a lot of people are always trying to send in. That's the traditional time when accountants were really busy as people sent in records. Actually having that quarterly throughout the year will reduce that pressure. It will reduce errors. It will help cash flow management as well, which will be key, because one of the biggest problems for a new business starting up is, what actual tax payments you have. The back end of making those reports and those quarterly submissions will give them greater visibility of what tax liabilities there are and how those are building up. So that will be a real key benefit to actually understand as the information in real time is coming in, what will be the future what will be the future tax, so they can plan their cash flow much better.
So with Making Tax Digital, as far as I understand it, this isn't the first wave, is it? I mean, it might be new to some of our listeners, but there will be other listeners who may already have come across Making Tax Digital, particularly in relation to VAT.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, it's actually quite a long journey. MTD was promised many years ago, and originally it was going to be coming in 2018 and missed the deadline there. MTD for VAT came in 2019 for VAT registered businesses, and then it was extended to all VAT registered businesses in 2022. So MTD has been with us for a while already. It's bedded in very well, and it's gone very well for VAT. So all of the initial glitches and problems that any system always has have now all been overcome.
So were there any lessons from that first wave?
I think the lesson is really just to embrace it. You know, don't try to avoid it, because it is coming. And if you're a small business owner and you are doing your own tax return, there are changes. So really embrace the change, be ready for it.
So I guess my next question is who will be affected by Making Tax Digital? As far as I understand, it comes in the first phase certainly next April. So who's going to sort of fall under the umbrella of Making Tax Digital for income tax?
Well, it is Making Tax Digital for income tax won't affect all taxpayers. It won't affect companies. It won't affect trusts. So those and partnerships for now. It's really self-employed individuals, so sole traders and landlords. They're the ones that are affected, by this wave of MTD for income tax.
And what about people that are running a side hustle? Might they come under Making Tax Digital?
They could do. It will depend on their threshold levels. So when it affects them may be an issue, but potentially if they've got a side hustle and that amounts to a trade and a business, then they would have to consider MTD as well. So
I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the rollout will be based, it's been rolled out over 3 years as far as I understand it, and that when you come in will depend on your turnover, is that correct?
That's exactly right, yeah. So from April 2026, for sole traders and landlords with total income of £50,000 or more, they will be mandated into MTD. From April 2027, it will be sole traders and landlords with total income but over 30,000. So that's the key threshold there. From April 2028, sole traders and landlords with total income above 20,000. And the government have announced that they want to spread the benefits of digitalisation to those sole traders with turnover below 20,000, but there's no at the moment mandation for those individuals, but I suspect that it will be coming as well for them later.
Yeah, so those thresholds are lower than the thresholds used for VAT when Making Tax Digital income tax for VAT came in. So actually small businesses and sole traders could fall under Making Tax Digital for income tax quite soon.
They could, yeah. It's it hasn't been as well publicised as it should be, and it's coming. So from April 2026, there will be individuals that will need to keep these digital records, that will need to comply. So it's really important to start now thinking about how it will affect you and what systems you need to put in place.
And just to sort of clarify, that is turnover, not profit.
Exactly right. That it's the income before the expenses, not the actual profit that you're making that counts.
Yeah. So £50,000 is that magic number you need to be aware of for that first date.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Are there any exemptions for anybody, Andy, if that won't be included, apart from partnerships and trusts that you've mentioned already?
Yeah, there are, and they're really quite complicated. But the general message that we would say is that there aren't many exemptions. So the vast majority, if you hit the threshold levels and you should be in MTD, you certainly need to be thinking about it. But there are some exemptions. For example, if it's not what they call reasonably practical for you to use digital tools, it could be down to your location or disability. It could be because you're digitally excluded as well. So there are practicing members of certain religions who, because of their religion, aren't able to use digital links, and they will potentially be exempt. But the key thing is, there's not going to be many of them. With MTD for VAT, there were very, very, very few. And if you are thinking, I might be exempt because I can't do it for these reasons, you do actually have to apply for it. And it's quite a rigorous process. So even if you think I'm in an exemption, still start thinking about it now, still start taking action.
So will making tax digital for income tax essentially mean the end of paper tax returns?
Well, if you were in one of our exemption categories that we've already mentioned, and I would just say there are also a few funnies. So there are some people with certain pages in their tax return who will be exempt or not have to do them in the first wave. Ministers of religion, Lloyd's names, to name but a few. Certain people who have become non-resident will also not need to do MTD. So the key thing is to really know your circumstances, and if you don't need to do MTD, you'll do a paper tax return. So there will still be paper tax returns available, but it will be by exception, so not many.
So by the sounds of things, the vast majority of those who are currently doing a self-assessment tax return will be doing it digitally once it rolls out, and the 3-year rollout and down to the £20,000 turnover threshold has been reached. It will be majority of people.
Yeah, I think the government are very clear. They do want it to apply to nearly everyone. But if you've got legitimate reasons why you can't use this technology, then of course there's going to be provisions to look after you and make sure that you don't have to.
So what if someone isn't currently using accounting software? How will they be able to comply with the rules to file digitally?
So if you're a small business and you are currently doing, say, a paper return and you don't have those digital links, there are a number of options that you can start thinking about doing. You don't have to use specific software. You can just use a spreadsheet, because the key thing is you can, as long as the record is digital, then you can use a spreadsheet. But if you use a spreadsheet, you're going to have to communicate that spreadsheet to HMRC, which means you're going to need digital links. So you're going to need what they call bridging software. In some ways, the bridging software could be as complicated as using MTD compliant software from the beginning. And I think if you're a new startup in particular and you want to keep everything as efficient, and the best tip that we could give is use MTD software from now. So there's plenty of options available, really good quality options. So really think about how you want to do this. Although a spreadsheet is acceptable for MTD, it won't give you all the benefits and the efficiencies of proper digitalization and being able to use the technologies. There's huge benefits with scanning technologies and the tagging and the coding that comes from using dedicated software. Once you've told the system this is this type of income, it will remember it. So if you're starting a new business, it's going to save you a lot of time, rather than writing it all out in a spreadsheet, which of course spreadsheets make mistakes. We're all human, and when we're putting the information in. So, so adopting that technology is key. But the key thing is you can use a spreadsheet. It will be appropriate for some businesses, but in most cases we would recommend considering MTD compliant software from the get-go.
So how can people be sure that the software they're sort of shortlisting for possible use in their business is compliant with making tax digital?
The only way you could ultimately check is as HMRC does have a page where you can check the software vendor, which is a bit arduous, but the software vendors, if they're claiming it's MTD compliant, we've not really come across any that are making claims that aren't true. So I think if it says it's ready for MTD for income tax, then it generally will be.
So you mentioned bridging software briefly. What exactly does that do then? So
if say you were a hairdresser and you have 10 lines of income on your spreadsheet that add up to £500, say, and our hairdresser needs to bridge that to HMRC, the bridging software will basically point to the box on the return that sums up that monthly income or quarterly income, and that's the bridge. It takes that. It will take the information that you put on one spreadsheet, probably transfer it to another one, and then finally submit it to the tax return. Because MTD is really about duplicating the current tax return boxes and building a link between those.
So you're not reporting anything any different to what you are with the paper returns then? It's the same information that's being reported to HMRC through making tax digital for income tax?
Well, the quantum of the income will be the same. There'll be no difference in that. But with our example that we had earlier, if we had 10 lines of income or expenses, you still have to keep that digital record. So although you're not necessarily transmitting all the digital records, you are having to keep digital records.
So how else will it change the financial reporting and recording then?
As well as the quarterly update, which you need to do, and the digital record keeping, which is quite a biggie. They're the two key ones, really. After your fourth and final one, you will need to do an end of year return, which will kind of be the final one. That will have your accounting and tax adjustments, because you haven't got to do all the adjustments as you go. And accounting adjustments can come in because there are certain things which are allowable for tax and certain things that aren't. And accounting adjustments dependent on how you report your income. So those sorts of adjustments that typically normally accountants will do, although some individuals will do, they can be saved to year end. And then you've also got, you may have other income as well that needs to be reported, so bank interest and other things. HMRC, as far as they possibly can, are trying to get as many providers of that financial data. So if you've got lucky enough to have bank interest, they're trying to encourage the data flow so that should flow into your tax return. So hopefully more and more will what they call be pre-populated. So you haven't got to go and hunt for, say, if you were in employment as well, your P60 to get your end of year information or your bank statements. Hopefully more and more of this will pre-populate, and you'll just be checking it to say, yeah, that's the information, the income that I earn.
Well, that sounds like a massive time saver, because I know from personal experience that it's pulling all of those bits and pieces together at year end, ready for the 31st of January, that the panic sets in. Where's that gone? It came out in May. I can't find it.
Whenever there's an improvement, you always, a few years later, how did we ever live without it? It seems terrible that at the moment an employer will put all the information to HMRC about the employment income, and then the employee has to get that from the employer and then put it in another system, whereas actually it should all just be digital and just cross cover each other. So hopefully that will be a big benefit for small business owners, not having to hunt for so much paper.
So will all accounting software be suitable for all types of businesses, or do you need to identify, software that's specifically for your type of business? I'm thinking perhaps of, businesses where they operate mostly on a cash payment basis.
I think you're certainly right. I think there are going to be some really good quality software which will do for the majority of small businesses, but you may have a particular specific need if you're dealing with till receipts, if you're dealing with a lot of cash, if you're an online trader and you say you've got Etsy or Amazon earnings or things like that, then there are going to be some options which are going to be more appropriate to you, just as they are now in terms of your bookkeeping. So I think if you are in a more specialist sector, then I think that, thinking about that early on and making sure you've got that quality software in place is key.
So I suppose it's a case of thinking about, how technically proficient you are, what the specific needs of your business are, how you operate, and then having a look at the list of compliance software and finding possible matches and going from there to identify something that will suit your business.
Yeah, and key with everything is, the question to really ask whenever you're using software is, what benefits will it bring me? What benefits is it going to bring my business? No cost, low cost. For a small business that's maybe struggling, it may be that some applications are just not really worth paying the money. But equally, also going for no cost sometimes will bring you a cost in terms of the extra work. So maybe a small cost at getting proper MTD compliant software is definitely worth making that investment.
Yeah. I'm thinking as well that some smaller businesses that have got, like a business bank account, some of those bank account providers do provide software as well. So I suppose it's worth checking that too, because that could be a free to use option for some of our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. If all options are on the table, and I think exploring the options that are available to you is key. Unfortunately, with MTD, that HMRC are not going to mandate or force anyone to use a particular vendor, so you do have to use a little bit of time just working out which is the best one for you.
Yeah, a little bit of investigative work to find out what's the best fit for you.
Yeah.
And I suppose as well, if you start now, you've still got time before next April to try some free trials and try some different options.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would say that if you're wanting to do this yourself, there are plenty of options out there, but I would say maybe start thinking about what the rules will be and how does my business measure up. Is it, am I able to actually do it now, because then you'll have plenty of time. You won't be in a rush next year.
Yeah. Is speaking to your accountant a good idea? Can they help you identify software that might suit your business?
Yeah. If you've already got an accountant, they're probably already on the case. They're already probably thinking about options, and they'll probably have a range of options that you can consider, and they can help talk you through that. For a lot of businesses, they won't yet have an accountant, so that's an option for them to consider. Like you say, there may be free software with the bank. They may wish to explore bridging software and spreadsheets, but also a lot of people, if they want to speak to somebody, speak to an accountant who will be able to help.
Yeah, because if it's a package they're using themselves as well, they're often there to answer those niggly questions when you get to a particularly thorny problem of where do I file that and what's that recorded as.
Well, exactly that. And accountants will be dealing with the same queries all the time. So some of the bugs that maybe you think is just specific to you actually happen to everyone. So if you speak to an accountant, they'll be able to quickly resolve issues.
One question that occurs to me, Andy, is with making tax digital for income tax, can you just leave the whole thing to your accountant and as many people do now, just hand over the box of expenses and receipts and things at the end of the year and say, here you go, sort that out and file my account, file my tax return and my accounts? Is that still an option for making tax digital for income tax?
I mean, an accountant will be able to do all of it for you. They will be able to set you up with the right accounting software, train you on how to use it, and manage your bookkeeping and digital record needs. So they will be able to help with things, but obviously the key things is one of the things they need to explain is that you will need to have digital records. One way or another, we've got to get those records from perhaps being paper to digital. That could mean that the accountant is either having bank feeds and doing that for you on your behalf with of course your permission, or perhaps maybe giving bank statements and scanning them. There's various ways we can get that into the software, but an accountant will be able to look after your MTD needs. So
can you explain how Tax Assist can help small businesses comply with making tax digital requirements?
Yeah, Tax Assist, a tax assist accountant will be able to help you identify what is the right software package for you, the right level of service for you as well, because some people will want more help than others. Everything is quite unique, but set you up with the compatible software options. Also train you on how to use the software, because that's key. If you want to handle some tasks yourself, some clients are quite happy maybe raising invoices in the software, and we can help train them on that. A lot of the other things they will leave to the accountant, but we can train you on using the software. Also train you on the relevant dates, the dates for compliance, the dates when things need to get done, remind you of those so that everything is done on time. And they'll then manage that whole process and make sure that everything is being submitted on time.
Yeah, well, that sort of brings on another question from me. What happens if you don't follow the rules? What happens if you're late and you miss those deadlines that you've just mentioned? I
think I'd say at the outset that the penalties are quite harsh when they come in. Now, we do expect that there'll be some sort of grace period, so the penalties may not apply instantly, but certainly starting to think that these penalties are going to be harsher than the traditional ones is important. Individuals incur a point on missing a submission, so say one of the quarterly deadlines, and then when you reach a certain threshold of points, it results in a penalty which would be £200. So not submitting the returns is going to potentially earn you points, but not good ones, and potentially penalty charges. For MTD for income tax, you'll generally have 4 quarterly updates will be needed, and the threshold for the £200 fine level is 4 points. So making 4 late submissions, you incur 4 penalties and you're fined by HMRC. The penalties will expire dependent on behaviour over time as well. You won't just keep them forever. But as well as the penalties for the late submissions of the returns, you also have to consider that there will be late payment penalties as well, which is a percentage of the outstanding amounts at certain points. So the spring statement, the government announced the rates which we think will apply. So from 6th of April 25, it will be 3% of the amount outstanding on day 15, which is quite high, plus 3% of the amount on day 30 if it's still not paid. And then there's going to be another 10% per annum charge on amounts outstanding after 31 days, which will be charged according to when it actually comes in. So that will be proportionate. So that will all be charged on top of interest, and it is quite a harsh regime. So it's important that people are aware that that doing nothing isn't really an option, because there are huge benefits to the digital technology.
Yeah.
Putting it in now will mean you're in a really good place for when this comes in next year.
So to round off, Andy, can you give us a kind of handy summary of how Tax Assist might be able to help clients limit the potential impact of making tax digital for income tax?
I think we'll be able to explain to you early days, what you need to do, where you are now. Of course, for some sole traders, they're already MTD compliant largely. They're not a million miles off because they're doing it for VAT if they're VAT registered. For ones who aren't, they're the ones that maybe have the most work to do, but explaining the work to do, explaining the options, giving pricing so that people can start to think, this is an option for me, so they can start weighing it up, what packages they want to do, what level of support they want. But the key thing is Tax Assist accountants will make sure that if you're wanting to use our service, we'll make sure that you're fully aware of all the rules and your returns are dealt with on a timely manner, so you're well reminded, and also help you to benefit from some of that digitalisation as well. So using the tools to drive your business in a way, to drive your turnover, as well as all the kind of more boring things so that you're aware of your tax liabilities and things like that. But also, the digital tools are there to proactively help you manage your business, to try and pick out patterns. So using the right software with the right accountant will also not just mean that you're compliant, but also will help you grow.
Yeah, fantastic. So can you finish, Andy, by telling our listeners where they can find Tax Assist online, please? Yeah,
if you come along to our web address, which is www.taxassist.co.uk, you can find us on our website, our locations, and we've got easy to get in touch with links on there.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time today. That's been really helpful. I'm sure listeners will have plenty of actions to come away with.
Thanks so much.
Cheers. Well, there we are. As Andy's explained, making tax digital for income tax is coming. From April 2026, sole traders and landlords with income above £50,000 a year will need to keep digital records. They'll also need to report their taxable income and expenses to HMRC. You'll need compatible accounting software or some other means of reporting your information digitally to HMRC. And the phased rollout will mean that almost all sole traders and landlords will come under making tax digital by April 2028, so it's really worth starting to prepare now. If you want further advice on how to make sure you comply and avoid the new penalties that are being introduced, you can find your local Tax Assist accountant by visiting www.taxassist.co.uk. You can find more information and links to the other related episodes in the summary notes, and you'll find these at www.startyourownbusinesspodcast.co.uk. If you've enjoyed the show and found it helpful, please hit follow. It'll make sure you're notified about the other episodes in this series as soon as they drop. All that remains is to thank Andy once again for taking the time to talk to us today. Until next time, all the best.
Are you a sole trader or landlord with combined income over £50,000? Big changes are coming your way. From the 6th of April 2026, making tax digital for income tax becomes mandatory, and getting prepared now is key. That's where Tax Assist accountants come in. They specialise in helping small businesses and landlords like you make the switch smoothly and stress-free. With face-to-face personalised advice, Tax Assist will guide you every step of the way, helping you understand exactly what MTD means for you and your business. They'll also provide MTD-ready software to help digitise your records, making it easy to stay compliant. And with a range of affordable packages tailored to your needs, you can choose the level of support that's right for you. Whether you want full management, a helping hand, or prefer to stay in full control. You can get free advice on MTD and how it may impact you by signing up to Tax Assist's client webinar. You'll receive expert guidance on how to digitise your records and meet your obligations, as well as the opportunity to ask any burning questions. Register for your free webinar place by visiting taxassist.co.uk/resources/news/MTD webinar today.